All right, guys, welcome back for your double dip of video notes today. If you are back with me, then you have done number 1, your roles in an ecosystem quiz. You've already done the food chain notes, which was a trifold brochure. You went and played the food chain game for just a little bit, and now you're back with me to take some notes on food web. Okay, so you are going to end up gluing this on page 5. You need this paper from your sub. Okay, I'm actually going to move my document camera up just a little so that you can see me fold, because this is your complicated fold. Okay, so I'm going to pick up my paper and I'm going to hold it folded hot dog style. I'm not actually going to fold it. So you'll notice that I still have a loop here. It's poofy. On the very ends, I'm going to make sure my corners are matched up. I'm going to crease that end right there, just about a finger's width in. And then I'm going to come down and do the same thing to the other end. Okay, I'm putting a little pinch right there. So then when I open it back up, I have 2 creases on the edges. Okay, you can start on either side. I'm going to start over here where the snake is. And we are going to do a little bit of folding. So I'm going to fold this corner up until, let's see if this would help, put something different colored underneath here. All right, so my crease is right here. I'm going to fold this side to my crease, okay, and then fold it in so it's on an angle. And then I'm going to take the other corner and match it up right there, also meeting the crease. So it should look like kind of a big arrow. Then I'm going to take the other side. My crease, again, is right here. I'm going to bring my edge up to my crease and fold it. I'm going to bring that top flap down to my crease. And fold it. Just like that. So now I have this funny little shape. I'm going to fold those sides over. Fold my sides over like this and fold it in half. And I should have, crease that side, this shape right here. All right, so now let's get started. We are talking about a food web, which is just essentially multiple food chains. So if you noticed in our food chain notes from earlier, your food only goes in one direction. Okay, those lines don't go to multiple things. Your large fish and your krill aren't both eating that phytoplankton. So we're going to see what happens when more than one animal eats more than one thing. So let's open this up first and fill some things in. All right, so we're going to label our arrow energy. And we are going to put some faces in here. This guy is going to get a happy face because he is receiving. Receives. Which means this guy is giving his energy. Okay? Which is only sad because we know it means that this friend is actually eating him. All right, lots of food chains, yes, sorry. Lots of food chains make up a food web. Lots of food chains make up a food web. All right, same thing with these arrows over here. We're going to be real specific. This guy is going to give his energy. This guy is going to receive. Obviously, we're going to label our arrow again. Energy. Friend over here that's getting a meal is going to be happy. This friend right here who's getting gobbled is going to be sad. Who is the source of all the energy? At this point, y'all better know this one. Source of all energy is the sun. All right, let's open it up and get started. Here we go again. The source of all energy is the sun. Don't say I didn't warn you. I told you were going to get tired of hearing it. All right. A food web is what? A food web is a connection of food chains with many food energy paths in an ecosystem. So we're going to have many energy paths. In a chain, we only have one path. It goes straight through. Here, we have multiple energy paths. So I'm going to ask you guys to get at least 5 different colors out. Okay? You're going to need 5 different colors. So I have pink, orange, blue, green, and purple. I do not care if you use the same colors. I do think it would be easy if you did. Okay, then you'll know exactly what color I'm using when, and you can just use that same color. So that is up to you. I have pink, orange, blue, green, and purple. Again, just in case you need it. I'm going to start with my green. Okay, I need to start at the sun because the sun is the source of all energy. So I know that in this picture, the sun is going to give its energy to the grass and the seeds, or this little flower here that has your seeds. Okay, because both of these 2 organisms are getting their energy from the sun, they have to be labeled as producers. They are producers because they get their energy from the sun. Now we've got to figure out who eats the next step. So I'm going to use pink. Pink. All right. So let's focus on just grass for right now. Who eats grass? Okay, I know that the deer eats grass. So I'm going to draw my arrow. But which way does my arrow need to point? Is it pointing at the grass or at the deer? Remember, our trick is it points to the mouth it goes in. So the grass goes in to the deer's mouth, which means the grass is giving its energy to the deer. If your arrow had pointed this direction, then you would be telling me that the grass eats the deer, which is not possible. All right. Who else eats grass? I think probably a mouse eats grass. So I'm going to do a really crazy arrow over the top. Okay. So I'm going to go up over my seeds and down. All right. So my mouse is also eating the grass. I think for us right now, that is all I want to do for eating the grass. But we have one other producer that we still need to mark with that same color. Remember, I'm using pink. So who eats seeds? Well, I know a deer is going to eat seeds. So I'm going to draw the arrow from the seeds to the deer. I think a squirrel is going to eat seeds. The bird, I know birds eat seeds because birdseed. Boop. Probably also a mouse. Mouse is going to eat seeds. Oops. All right, guys, we're going to pick up right where we left off. So we had just drawn a line from the seeds to the mouse. So looking at all of these, we have animals labeled that are only eating producers. And if you only eat a producer, remember a producer is something that does the process of photosynthesis to get its energy from the sun. If you only eat a producer, then you have to be labeled as an herbivore. So I'm going to go through and label my deer an herbivore, my squirrel, an herbivore, my bird, an herbivore, and my mouse, an herbivore. All right. So let's move to our next color. We're going to use blue. And we are going to figure out who eats our herbivores in this picture. Who eats our herbivores? So let's start with our deer. Who is going to eat our deer? I think the most obvious choice would be right here, our mountain lion. So I'm going to draw an arrow from the deer to the mountain lion, showing that the mountain lion gets its energy from the deer. Okay, what else might the mountain lion eat? Maybe on a scarce day, when he can't find a deer, he might eat a little tiny mouse. He's probably going to need quite a few mice to fill him up, but that doesn't mean he couldn't eat a mouse. He could eat a squirrel. If he was really athletic, he could eat a bird. All right, who else would eat our squirrel? Maybe the eagle could eat the squirrel. So the squirrel is going to give its energy to the eagle. I think it's reasonable that a snake could eat a squirrel. Okay, the eagle might also eat another bird. I know I've seen some crazy videos of eagles just snatching other animals out of the air. I think a snake would also eat a bird. We know that a snake would eat a mouse. I also think that we can come in here and say that a bird would eat a mouse. Okay, and that is going to change our label right here. The bird can no longer be an herbivore if it is receiving energy from the seeds and also from the mouse. So that then makes him an omnivore. Because he's eating plants and animals, which is pretty crazy. Okay, the rest of our creatures here, our mountain lion, our eagle, and our snake, are only eating things that do not do photosynthesis. They're only eating our herbivores. So we can go through and label them carnivores. Carnivores. All right. Take a second and get those labeled for me, guys. All right. Now, we are going to go back through and add some labels and be really specific. So we're going to make a key over here on this side. And we are going to put PC equals primary consumer. SC equals secondary consumer. And TC equals tertiary consumer. I'm going to give you a second to get those copied down. So we are going to actually go back through and add a second level of labels to each of our consumers here because we need to know what level of a consumer they are. So primary consumer, I think, is your easiest area to label because it is anybody that's an herbivore. Your herbivores are going to automatically be labeled primary consumer. They are your first level consumer. They consume the grass, so they become a primary consumer. So I'm going to write PC under all of my herbivores. We're going to come back to this bird because we know that he is no longer a primary consumer. So we'll start with him in just a second, labeling our secondary consumers. So your primary consumers are deer, squirrel, mouse, and it was your bird until we decided that your bird was going to be an omnivore. So your omnivore is going to be a secondary consumer because he eats a primary consumer. Okay, so we're going to actually mark this out, and we're going to put an SC here. Okay, anybody who eats a primary consumer is going to become a secondary consumer. So we're going to put an SC underneath each of our carnivores. Ooh, I hit my watch, guys. Secondary consumer. All right, now it's going to get a little tricky. Because your mountain lion, your eagle, and your snake already eat this bird, which we've labeled as a secondary consumer, we actually are going to have to go back and change the color of their arrows. So I'm just going to draw an arrow right beside these arrows, okay? And I'm going to use my orange. So if you are eating a secondary consumer, okay, you guys can guess that you are going to have to change to be what level of a consumer? If you are eating a secondary level consumer, then we have to change you to be that funny word, that tertiary. That's a third level consumer. So we're going to put a TC. We're marking out SC, and we're putting a TC, okay, on each of those, because they are now third level consumers. Now, if we want to go one step further, there's something called a quaternary consumer. So it has the base word quarter in it. So I'm going to add it over here just as kind of a bonus. You guys won't be tested on this one. But it is QUATERNARY, consumer. Okay, and it is your fourth level consumer. And if we go back and look at our picture, there's one that stands out to me really clearly that would still eat someone else. This eagle, I think, would still eat our snake. So I'm going to draw an arrow from our snake to our eagle. Okay, because I think it's reasonable to say that this snake would eat the eagle. Okay, so technically you could have a blue line and an orange line here because at some point the snake was all three of those things. But to simplify, mine doesn't really look purple on camera, I'm betting. It is. This line is purple. It's not blue. Maybe I should use, oh, sorry, I don't have a light purple. Making the eagle eat the snake then makes the eagle no longer a tertiary or a secondary, but a quaternary consumer. So we're going to put a QC there. So you guys have taken all of the phases of your food web here and broken it down step by step by step. Now, if we looked at just one part of this, say we block out everything over here. If we just look at this part of the web, this is a food chain. The sun gives its energy to the grass gives its energy to the deer gives its energy to a mountain lion. That is a really simple food chain. Okay, you can also go this way. The sun to the grass to the mouse to the snake. Okay, there are a lot of individual food chains in this web, and that is the whole point of a web. A web is made up of multiple different food chains that show all of the directions in which food energy travels through an ecosystem. And you guys now have gone through and labeled each of your consumers as not only what kind of consumer they are, but what trophic level they fall under. So that's a new word for us, trophic level. And it means the level in which they fall as it pertains to the energy they receive. And we'll get more specific about trophic levels tomorrow, but I wanted you guys to be aware of just how far you stretched your brains today. Thank you guys for sticking with me. You are welcome to go back and color your little animals. Make sure you fold your web back up, and you are going to glue it on page